Welcome to the deep dive. So, maybe you're a new UEFN bed developer, yeah. You've got all these ideas buzzing around for cool experiences,
hmm
and you're starting to think maybe, just maybe, you could turn this passion into something more, like your own game development studio.
Right.
That's exactly what we're going to dive into today. We want to pull out the really crucial bits of info to help guide you if you're thinking about setting up your own UEFN-focused studio.
Yeah, think of it like a practical starting point. We're looking mainly at this great piece from the creative block about creating a UFN studio.
Right.
But we'll pull in some other stuff too, just to round things out. It's an exciting space to be in, for sure.
Definitely. UEFN has really, opened doors. It feels more possible now to build something real, something sustainable.
Exactly. We're talking about moving beyond just making cool islands and actually building a creative business.
Okay, so let's unpack the big one first.
Hmm.
The team.
Yeah.
You need people, right? The Creative Block article lays out some key positions they see as vital for a UFN studio. First up, the game designer. That's the ideas person conceptualizing the core gameplay.
The visionary, kind of.
Yeah. Then you've got your level designer, the architect building the actual maps and spaces in UEFN that people will play in.
Crucial for flow and engagement. And then, obviously, the programmer.
Absolutely essential. Someone skilled in verse, that's the UEFN scripting language, and importantly, someone who understands event binding.
Making everything talk to each other, basically. Making the buttons work.
Exactly, making things happen.
And those are sort of the UEFN-specific heavy hitters. But the article also points out other, equally important roles.
Like what?
Like a 3D artist and modeler. If you want unique stuff,
Yeah.
not just library assets, you need someone making custom things.
Gives it that unique look and feel.
Totally. An animator, too, to bring those custom assets or even standard ones to life. Movement is key.
Adds so much personality.
And sound. A sound designer. Good audio really pulls players in. It's often underestimated, I think.
Oh, for sure. And then maybe less glamorous, but vital? QA testers.
Quality assurance.
Yep.
The bug hunters.
Yeah.
You need people dedicated to finding and helping you squash those pesky problems before players find them.
Nothing kills buzz like a buggy game.
Exactly. And finally, they mention a marketing and community manager. Someone to actually, tell people about your games and talk to the players.
Get the word out, build that community. So yeah, the article really stresses that each role contributes to that final polished experience.
It's a team effort, fundamentally.
And this idea of needing different skills,
Yeah.
it really clicks when you look at other sources like Pingle Studios' piece on game dev roles. It's broader, yeah, but it shows how specialized things can get.
Right, like with programmers that I mentioned, gameplay programmers, render, physics, AI, network, tools programmers.
Wow, yeah. As a new UIFN studio, you probably won't need like a dedicated physics programmer on day one.
Probably not, no.
But it shows the potential depth, right? Where things could go as you grow. What programming skills would you say are baseline for starting out in UAFN?
That's a good question. I'd say definitely gameplay programming, making the mechanics work. And given UAF setup, maybe someone comfortable with the visual scripting side and verse, you need that logic implementation.
Makes sense. Pingle also breaks down design roles, level design, which we mentioned, but also UI UX.
User interface and user experience, how it looks and how it feels to use.
Right. Plus technical design, systems, narrative, sound. Again, maybe one person wears multiple hats early on in a UAFN studio.
Very likely, yeah.
But knowing these areas exist helps you spot what skills you're missing or need to develop.
Exactly. Your level designer might also mock up the first UI, but down the line, a dedicated UI UX person can really polish things up. It makes a difference.
In QA, we can't skip that. Pingle talks about functional testers, compatibility, performance, usability, even compliance testers.
Making sure it works everywhere, runs well, is easy to understand, and follows the rules.
Yeah.
All super important for UEFN games, too. You want that good reputation.
Yeah. This whole theme of teamwork and diverse skills, it comes up again in that Reddit thread. What does it take to create a game studio? And the building your own indie game studio article.
Yeah, the Reddit thread especially hits on how hard it can be to find the right people. Not just skilled, but committed, sharing the vision.
That commitment piece feels huge, especially early on.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone needs to be pulling in the same direction. It can be a grind.
Okay, so that's the who. What about the what? The actual skills the team needs. The creative block has a list here too.
Right, the core competencies.
Unsurprisingly, number 1, UEFN mastery. You gotta know the tool inside and out.
Table stakes, really.
Then verse programming, like we said. And that event binding knowledge, connecting the dots.
Making the interactions happen.
Yeah.
Crucial.
Beyond the UAFN specifics, they also list fundamental game dev skills like game mechanics development.
Yeah, designing those loops that actually make the game fun and keep people playing.
And 3D modeling and animation skills using software like Blender or Maya, perhaps, this custom assets.
Definitely, if you want that unique visual flair. Plus, sound design and audio engineering, creating and mixing the audio.
Making it sound good, feel immersive. And testing and debugging skills, of course.
Yeah.
Finding and fixing problems.
Essential. And finally, they loop back to marketing and branding, knowing how to get your stuff seen, how to use social media.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Let's talk legal structure. Less exciting, maybe, but the creative block really flags this as important.
Yeah, for tax reasons, for liability, it matters. They strongly suggest talking to a legal professional.
Which makes total sense. What are some common options a new studio might even look at?
Well, you might start super simple, like a sole proprietorship or partnership, but pretty quickly you'll likely want to look at forming an LLC, a limited liability company.
Why is that?
The big advantage is it separates your personal assets from your business debts and liabilities. It offers a layer of protection. But yeah, talking to a lawyer is the way to go. They can advise based on your specific situation.
Sound advice. And, that Harper James Solicitor's article on IP rights? It doesn't talk about business structures directly, but it definitely reinforces needing legal awareness early.
Absolutely. Even with your first UEFN projects, thinking about who owns what, the copyright and the art, the code snippets, it's important.
Get those agreements sorted out, especially if you're collaborating.
Definitely. Clear IP agreements up front can save a lot of potential headaches later.
Okay. Team, skills, legal thoughts. Now, the topic that often raises eyebrows, money. Costs.
The inevitable question. Yeah.
That indie game funding guide gives a good overview, and even though UEFN is accessible, there are definitely costs involved, right?
Oh yeah, that's a critical reality check. UEFN itself might be free to use, but building a studio isn't. The funding article points out several key areas. First, your team costs.
Salaries or payments for collaborators?
Exactly. Even if they're part-time or you're doing rev share, their time has value.
Yeah.
The article throws out a huge range, like $20,000 to over $150,000 for a small team, depending on how long development takes.
That's a big range.
It really depends. Then software and tools. Okay, UEFN is free, but what about your 3D modeling software? Your audio tools? Some of those have costs.
Right, subscriptions or licenses. And if you ever expand beyond UEFN, maybe using Unreal Engine directly or Unity, there could be engine licensing fees too.
Potentially, yeah. And art and assets. Talk about custom assets. Well, making them or buying them costs money. Indie game funding suggests anywhere from like $5,000 to over $50,000.
Again, depends on the scope. And marketing. Even just community-focused stuff takes time, which is money or direct ad spend.
Yep, that guide puts marketing costs anywhere from $2,000 to $50,000 plus. And don't forget business registration fees, maybe legal consultation fees we just mentioned.
Website hosting.
Website costs, exactly.
Yes.
As the Creative Block article also notes, it all adds up.
The main point seems to be, the bigger your UEFN game's ambition, the bigger your team, the more complex it is, the more funding you'll need.
Precisely. Yeah. While your starting costs in UEFN might be lower than, say, a traditional indie game aiming for Steam release, where funding might range from $10 for something tiny to $500,000 or more.
Wow.
The basic principles are the same. You need to budget, understand your expenses. That Reddit thread, "What does it take to create a game studio?" is blunt about it. You need money, even for a small studio.
Okay, so assuming you've thought about the costs and you're ready to find people, how do you actually recruit talent?
Good question. That Assemble Link roundup on starting a studio has some ideas.
What do they suggest?
Looking in the usual places, online game dev forums, they mention Unreal and Unity communities specifically.
Yeah.
Social media groups for developers, maybe even industry events, though, for UEFN. Maybe that's less relevant initially.
Right. For UEFN, maybe focusing on the UEFN creator community itself makes more sense.
I think so, yeah. Look for people already active there, showing off cool work, people whose skills you can actually see in action within the platform.
Assemble also mentions being open to talented newcomers, not just experienced vets.
Yeah, passion and eagerness can go a long way, especially if they mesh well with the team vision.
Speaking of vision, that Reddit thread had a good warning, didn't it, about just recruiting your friends?
Oh yeah, be careful there. Passion is great, but you need to be realistic about their actual skills and, crucially, their commitment level. Game dev can be tough. Are they really up for it?
It's a tricky balance. The Reddit thread also had a cool suggestion. Start with game jams.
Yeah. Low commitment, high intensity. It's a fantastic way to test the waters with potential collaborators, see how you work together under pressure.
See their skills in action, see if you click communication-wise before you make any big promises or commitments.
Exactly. It's a low-risk way to find good people and just get experience working as a team. Highly recommend it.
Okay, so you've got a team, maybe tested through a jam, you're building stuff. How do you succeed specifically in the UAFN space? The creative block has some core strategies.
What are they highlighting?
Consistency seems key. Regular game publications, having a roadmap, a schedule for releases. Keep putting things out there.
Keeps your audience engaged, shows you're active. Makes sense.
And constant updates and iteration, fixing bugs, adding features based on player feedback, keeping your experiences fresh.
Yeah, listen to your players.
Yeah.
Especially in a community platform like Fortnite UFN.
And then social media and community engagement, they mention Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Discord especially.
Discord is huge for UEFN creators and players, absolutely. You need to be there, talking to people, promoting your stuff.
And finally, collaborations and partnerships. Working with other creators, maybe influencers, even brands.
Yeah, cross-promotion can really expand your reach, get your games in front of new eyeballs.
It all sounds like consistent effort and, well, smart planning.
It is. And honestly, these points echo what you hear about general indie game marketing too, right? Like in that Reddit indie survival guide or the building your own indie studio piece.
Totally. They talk about having a great store page, which in UAFN is maybe your island's presentation, engaging trailers or showcases.
Reaching out to content creators who play Fortnite. Building a direct line to players, maybe through that Discord server.
The big message across all of them seems to be start marketing early. Don't wait until your game is finished.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Start building buzz, get feedback on prototypes, build that community relationship from day one. It's so important, especially in UAFN where the community is the platform in many ways.
Okay, one last crucial area before we wrap up. Intellectual property. IP.
Yes, the legal fund continues.
That Harper James Solicitor's Guide is really useful here. It stresses understanding IP rights right from the beginning, even for a UAFN studio.
Absolutely essential. What kind of IP are we talking about in games?
Well, the guide mentions a few types. Copyright is a big one. It covers your artwork, music, the code you write.
It arises automatically, right?
Right.
But documenting it is smart.
Exactly. And making sure if you hire freelancers, the copyright belongs to the studio, not them. Agreements are key.
Very key. What else?
Trademarks. That's for things like your game's name, your studio logo, maybe iconic character names. You can register these for stronger protection.
Gives you exclusive rights to use that mark for your games.
Right. Then there are registered designs for the aesthetic look of things like icons or UI elements.
Less common maybe, but good to know about.
And patents. These are for inventive game mechanics or technology. Probably less likely for initial UAFN projects, but who knows?
Yeah, patents are a higher bar and more expensive.
And finally, trade secrets. Confidential processes, maybe internal tools or methods. Using NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, helps protect these.
Limit access, keep things confidential. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So the main takeaway is be aware of IP, get agreements in place, and consider registration for things like trademarks.
Pretty much. Protect your creations.
Okay, so that was a lot to cover.
It really was. So for you, the listener, the new UEFN developer, may be dreaming of starting a studio. What are the big takeaways?
Well, first, focus on building that skilled team, even if you start small. Understand the roles you need.
And be realistic about the costs involved. It's not free, even in UAFN. Budget carefully.
Think about that legal structure early on. Talk to a lawyer. Protect yourself and your business.
Find talent strategically. Look within the UAFN community. Maybe use game jams to test collaborations.
And remember that success in UAFN means consistent releases, constant updates, really engaging with your community.
Marketing isn't optional. Explore partnerships too. Protect your IP.
It's definitely an exciting path.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's challenging too. Start small, learn by doing, maybe make a few UAFN projects solo or in small teams first. Build that understanding gradually.
That sounds like solid advice. Learn the ropes before you commit fully to the studio idea.
And maybe a final thought to mull over. What's your unique angle? What niche could your UAFN studio fill?
Ooh, interesting, like focusing on a specific game type or a certain community within Fortnite.
Exactly. Finding that specific focus, that unique selling proposition could be a really smart strategic move, especially when you're just starting out. Gives you a way to stand out.
That's a great point to consider. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this has given you a solid foundation if you're thinking about launching your own UFN game development
I don't
studio.
know, hopefully it's helpful.
Definitely dig into those resources we mentioned if you want more detail. And really think about your own skills, your passions.
Right.
What do you want to build?
And if you have questions as you go or want to share how it's going,
Please reach out. We genuinely love to hear about your journey. Good luck.